prelim notables, prelim locks.
Here we go.
All right, that's cool. I gotta get used to that still. Opening up the main card, I'm rolling with Gregory RoboCop Rodrigeuz over Bruno Ferreira. Gregory Rodrigeuz, he's got that dog in him. I don't think this fight's gonna stay that far down, on the card, but he's a minus 330 favorite. This guy, he's powerful. He's strong. He walks guys down. He's willing to throw. He takes a lot of damage. Or when he does take a lot of damage, doesn't really seem to phase him. He's been fighting some pretty good competition lately. He's on a nice 4-1 out of his last 5 in the UFC, out of his only 5 in the UFC. I think he's a really good acquisition for the UFC. He's got great boxing skills, all around really entertaining fighter. Even though he's at minus 330, I think if you go for a double chance bet here by either a KO or decision for Gregory Rodrigeuz, you're going to be sitting in a pretty good standing. He's got a massive size advantage, 6'3" over 5'10", just in height, but reach. Well, Tapology doesn't have reach available for Bruno Ferreira, which is a little weird. Was this guy have like little T-Rex arms and his camp didn't want to release that? Not available. That's strange.
At 5'10", I can't imagine he has a reach over what's normal, like your height and your weight, or no, your weight. What am I talking about? Your height in inches is generally what your average wingspan is. So if he's 5'10", that's 12 times 5 is 60. Plus he's 5'10", so he's got 70.
This is an easy lock. I think this is an easy lock for Gregory Rodrigeuz.
Yeah, they're bringing a guy in here in Bruno Ferreira, which, hey, listen, Bruno Ferreira, and you see what Tapology thinks about this fight that was just made recently. But listen, Bruno Ferreira is not a scrub. When you look at his last 5, he's got a knockout over a 10-1 guy on the Contender Series. He's got a knockout over a 10-3 guy, 33-18. He's fighting experienced guys, 11-5, 3-1. He's 9-0. He's got a good chin. He's got strong punches. He's got power. But the problem for Bruno Ferreira is it's his UFC debut, and we know guys do not do well in their UFC debuts. Typically, it's a large step up in competition, not just record. And number 2, he's going against a guy in Gregory Rodrigeuz who has an unreal chin. I mean, we all saw the disgusting cut in between his head, right in this general area. If you could see my mouse, that basically revealed an artery that was still blue, and if it had cut him, he may have bled out in the cage, is what they were saying. So not to be too graphic, but this is a guy who absolutely doesn't care, moves forward, and they call him RoboCop, and I'm starting to get it now. I'm not sure if this is why they gave him the name, but he just plots forward methodically, doesn't care, and is willing to take that damage. He's like a robot. So Gregory Rodrigeuz, I think he's also called Brazilian Obama, which I definitely can see that as well. I like RoboCop a lot. And looking at his one loss here, I mean, versus Armen Petrosian in a split decision where it went back and forth, and Armen wasn't able to get the takedowns that he's normally used to getting as easily. I think Gregory Rodrigeuz is going to be a top guy in the division, only less than 31 years old. So in his prime here, long reach, big guy for the division. I'm excited for RoboCop.
Yeah, I think if you were going to call any fight this week a super lock for us, I think that this would be like as close as you get to a super lock.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Again, I think it's going to be a really good fight. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's necessarily going to be one-sided, but I think it's definitely going to be a good fight, and I think it's going to be won by Gregory Rodrigeuz, RoboCop. I don't know if he's going to finish Bruno Ferreira. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how I feel about placing my money there against a guy who hasn't shown chin issues in the past. It is his UFC debut. I would take the money line here. I don't know what it's at minus 330.
I would personally go with Gregory Rodrigeuz by decision, because that he can stand in the pocket with pretty much anybody in that division and swing, take damage, but really you say like take one to give two. I mean, you take like a little bit when you're Gregory Rodrigeuz to give a lot. Because maybe he's taking like 2 shots from a guy that doesn't really hurt him, and he gives one back. He's so strong that one will hurt him more than he got hurt. He's just a dog. Like he's fucking strong.
And over his last 5, He only has 2 decisions to Armen Petrosian and Dushko Todorovic, and Dushko's not a slouch himself. Finishing Junun Park, finishing Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis, who has the famous fumbling of Miley Cyrus, and knocked out Chidi Nojukani from ground and pound. So I'm a little bit of a safe better here, especially because I've been really good with picking the winners, but the method of victory is where I seem to falter. Just to try and correct the ship here and take incremental wins as they come. I'm going with Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez by money line, or for the money line, just to cover my bases at minus 330. You can lay $15 on it, get 4 or 5 back. And it's all about chipping away and taking a little bit piece by piece. I'm not in it for the home run, the Hail Mary, the 80-yard bombs, although they're great. I'll give me a single. I'm approaching this like Moneyball.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't know. I don't know if that's like the general. Since sports betting has been legalized, I don't think that that's like the general direction that most people take it in. So I'm going to give you the little bit riskier bet. I'm going to go Gregory Rodriguez by decision. Like you said, he's facing a guy with no chin issues as of yet. And I don't know. I think Gregory Rodriguez has he has the ability to dish it out, but if you're a guy that has never been knocked out before, maybe it's because you have good head movement, and you'll still take a few shots here and there, but or good defense, and you won't get completely finished. So,
I mean, you could also do Gregory Rodriguez by KO decision, no bet.
Yeah, that's I like the if you use FanDuel, I like the double chance bets that they have there. So that's what I started off with too. But being that he's not I don't know how many submissions he has on his record. I can't imagine it's a lot. So basically, I don't think he has any. So basically, like what they
Zero subs, Zero professional subs.
Yeah, what they do with those double chance bets is like if a guy's not a submission guy, then those double chance bets typically have the same odds as his straight up money line. So I'm gonna roll with Gregory Rodriguez. Like that's my pick, like when we do our pick rundown. But Gregory Rodriguez by decision, I think it's a very intelligent bet this week. So that's what I'll personally be staking money on. Me, I'm not a minus 330. Put 330 to win 100. That because if that doesn't hit, now you're out 330 for what really wasn't a great gain. I'd rather go a little bit more in with a good pick and.
Hey, listen, I hear you. There's a reason why people like the long ball. They like the obviously the home run. They like the exciting plays, dude. And it makes sense. You get a lot more of a rush from winning a fight or winning a bet that's gonna pocket you hundreds of dollars. But for me personally, in the way that it's been going for me, if I can pinpoint who's gonna win and I can do that with relative consistency, and I'm not betting a ton, but I'm incrementally making money back, that's going to be my approach for 2023 until it starts to steer me wrong, which, hey, could be next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever works for you. That's what's awesome about sports gambling being legalized now at this point is, there's so many different routes and options you can take. Like the bets I was talking about before with football, like betting on who's going to win the first half and the second half. Like, it's outside of the norm with the spreads and everything else, but that's what we're here for, is just to give options. So, but we're both on the same page with Gregory Rodriguez. So that Gregory Rodriguez money line, that'll also be like a leg in a parlay for me this week too. All right.
Moving on with continuing with our prelim notables. There's one that I want to mention really quickly, and that's Thiago Moises taking on Mezquilil Costa. Mezquilil Costa is a shoot the box guy, but he's not from the main shoot the box. He's from what is it? Shoot the box Jose Emilio or Yao Emilio. So not the main one. He's from the same camp as Joe Anderson Brito. Other than that, there's not a ton. I'm not seeing any other UFC level guys there. And he's taking on Thiago Alves, who is going to be slightly shorter and a slight reach disadvantage, but when you look at the level of competition that Thiago Moises has fought, it doesn't even compare. Yeah, he got submitted by Islam Makhachev, and he lost by TKO to Joel Alvarez. But we're talking about really strong UFC level competition. He got the submission over Christos Giagos just 5 months ago. Alexander Hernandez, he's got a win over unanimous decision. And listen, he also got a unanimous decision win over Bobby Green. So he's got the hands, and he's got the strong ground game to be able to get it done. I like him a lot against Mizaquil Costa, coming from a lesser gym. Has some solid opponents for sure, and has some knockout power in his hands. But I just think the level of competition is going to be too much. Make his UFC debut at 26 years old. Going against a guy like Thiago Moises, I don't like it for Costa. So I'm going to be putting money on Thiago Moises, though I don't know what the odds are right now. Tapology doesn't have them. I'll try and look it up and report back, but he's definitely a guy I'm going to be looking into as well. And then one more for you, and we'll go back to you for your last one, because I think we know who it's going to be, but I want to go with Jailton Almeida over Shamil Abdurakhimov. And the reason for this is because Jailton Almeida is a freaking beast. He can go out there and he can throw. He has good leg kicks. He has strong hands, but he's also got an amazing pressuring, grappling style where he's going to get you down. He's going to get on your back. Now, against a guy like Shamil Abdurakhimov, that's not going to be necessarily as easy, but I don't think he's going to have too much of a difficult time. Shamil is 41 years old. He's Russian, so he's naturally going to have a decently strong grappling base, but Jailton Almeida is minus 1,000, making this basically a no bet. But I like him as a lock, minus 1,000. It's hard to do something with, but Jailton Almeida, maybe two other guys in a parlay, doesn't do much for it, but I think this is going to be another example of Jailton Almeida going out there and making the rest of the division and making people look silly. And I'm actually very interested to see Jailton Almeida if he gets a couple more wins, a couple more qualifying wins. Like, again, they've been to guys like Anton Turkalaj, Parker Porter, Danilo Marquez, Nasruddin, whatever. Not quite the level of competition that you would like to see to be able to get up into the top echelon and start challenging. But with a strong grappling base, which is a little bit different from the typical heavyweight that's just really out there to knock you out. You really got him and like Curtis Blades and a couple others that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that are strong grapplers. John Jones. I would love to see those guys rise to the top, be the cream, get to the top there, and create this kind of new generation of heavyweights after having such a layoff with Francis Ngannou. So that's what I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, I like that pick quite a bit. My next one is going to be Terrance T-Rex McKinney versus Ismail Bonfim. And again, you touch on a lot of points when you're talking about Gregory Rodrigeuz about how guys making their UFC debut in 2022, they really trended down. I don't know if we had anybody making their debut last night, so that may not be a stat that we can really track. But
we had, last night, I know off the top of my head, we had Dan Argueta, who was not making his debut. In his debut, he lost to Damon Jackson. He fought I forget the guy's name. It was Argueta and something else that was very similar, starts with an A, but just kind of went in there and showed him that, if you're making your UFC debut, you have to be something really, really special to go in there and get the win. You also had Javid Basharat taking on a guy from Real Shoot the Box, blue hair, and Javid Basharat went and got the win, and in his post-fight was saying how, hey, listen, this guy's a really good guy. I was banking on him getting tired. He never got tired, or he got a little tired, but he never gassed out in the way that I was expecting. He had a really amazing chin. That if you haven't watched that Javid Basharat fight, I suggest you go back and watch it, and also watch his post-fight post-fight interview with Paul Felder. Really, really interesting. But I think last night there was two people, maybe more, but at least two people making their UFC debut that both got handed L's.
Well, so the trend continues. So that further reinforces my Terrance McKinney pick. T-Rex, he's really not a guy that you want to make a UFC debut against. This guy last year went up against a couple of serious, really just great competition. Fought Drew Dober in an absolute crazy fight, and I think that's his only UFC loss so far. Farzayam, Matt Frivola, Eric Gonzalez. He can do it all. Wins fights by submission, wins fights with crazy knockouts. He's got serious power in his hands. He's willing to back you down against the cage and just throw and throw and throw and throw until you catch him. And then even if you catch him, he's still going to keep throwing. And he, he really means business, and he's super entertaining. I hope, his next fight after this is against a little guy named Paddy Pimblett. I would like to see that fight a lot, but for the time being, Terrance McKinney's taking a little road trip out to Brazil, and I think he gets it done on the road. He's got a really great line, which is, I thought maybe Terrance McKinney originally, when I was looking at this fight, would be a slightly heavier favorite, which leads me to believe maybe there's something here that Vegas knows about Bonfim, but I still like Terrance McKinney here, and I think at -120, the value is super high. So I'm willing to take Terrance McKinney straight up here.
Just looking really quickly at Ismail Bonfim, is who's making his debut here against Terrance McKinney. He has 3 losses on his record. The 2 of them came regionally in his first 2 fights, and then the third was against Money Moicano.
Oh wow!
Moicano wants money, which I can't wait to see him fight. But back in 2014, what was that?
On Jungle Fight 71.
Jungle Fight 71. He lost by rear naked choke in the first round back in 2014. So it's almost been 10 years since he lost.
Yeah. So, but ever since then, it looks like the majority of his wins recently, at least, are, you have 3 out of the last 5 coming from decisions. So, and I think against a guy like Terrance McKinney, if you want to beat Terrance McKinney, it's like kill or be killed. That's the type of fight that it is. You can't go out there with any reservations whatsoever. You have to literally be willing to destroy T-Rex in front of you. And, I just don't really see that from I think the Terrance McKinney, the ceiling is the roof, to quote Michael Jordan. And, I just see Bonfim as another stepping stone, just another guy. He's another face. Making his debut, keeping that trend going with debuts losing. So I'm going to roll with Terrance McKinney. I'd imagine you're going to side with me there too.
Yeah, I'm going to take Terrance McKinney, but I'm definitely concerned about that. I wouldn't be adding him necessarily to a parlay at -120. I think you're getting enough of a return that you don't need to, combine that. And, you could put 2 units on him. But, hey, listen, I think this is probably his hardest fight outside of the Drew Dober fight. Because, and as we saw with Drew Dober, when he throws. If you're not able to get that guy out of there, Terrance McKinney gets tired, and as anybody would with that, crazy pace. Throwing with that exceptional power, if he can't get him out of there in the first round, I think the fight gets very, very interesting. I think you could get, a Terrance McKinney. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, something just kind of dawned on me. I think this is actually going to be a Terrance McKinney fight that ends up going to decision. I think he's going to definitely win the first round. And then we'll see how it goes from there. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm still going to bet on him because I think there's more ways for him to get it done. But, the guy he's going up against, he's got some submissions on his record. He's got knockouts on his record. He's got decision wins on his record. He's got good cardio, got a good gym, and he's been in there with guys like Renato Moicano, and he's been doing this for over 10 years. So definitely an interesting fight. And being that it's his UFC debut, it makes it a little bit iffy, but this is not a typical guy making his UFC debut. He's got an extensive career and some really good history. So I think that's going to be a fantastic fight, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I just before we dive into the main card, I just threw down a bet on the spot, and I'm going to see how I feel about it, basically in 2 months. But John Jones at +100 against Cyril Gane at -120. I just threw, a nice little chunk of change at John Jones at +100.
I think John Jones finishes that fight too. I think by the second round, he has Cyril Gane on the ground, and I think he's just landing mega elbows from a clinch or a side control position until Herb Dean steps in there.
Yeah, well, if you've got a book that's allowing it now, I would definitely snag that now, because I think public money is just going to start flooding in on John Jones.
It's John Jones.
I view that as almost an investment now at this point, because even if fight night comes around and you don't feel like John Jones is going to win, you got to look at what that cash out value is going to be now with if you snag him at +100 and he moves to -200. The cash out value is going to go up like crazy, at least in most cases. Also, Cyril Gane at -120 is not even a bad bet either. So, but plus money, John Jones for, I believe, the first time in like his entire UFC career. Crazy stuff. All right, let's move on to the main card now.
Real quick though,
Yeah.
Shogun Rua is fighting in what is being labeled his last fight ever, and I think fighters are like 0 and however many times this has happened in their final fights when going into it, knowing that it's going to be their final fight. You think of Cowboy Cerrone, you think of plenty of guys. Shogun Rua has not had great performances as of late. He's gotten knocked out by Paul Craig. He basically tapped out to strikes there 2 years ago, took a year and a half off, lost on split decisions to OSP, who's not at the prime of his career either. And ER Potera is coming in here. He's got the loss to Nikolai Negomariano, but I don't think Mauricio Shogun Rua at this point, 41 years old, is going to be knocking him out. He's got a decent ground game, and he's got some finishes on his record as well. The people on Tapology really like Potera, and a lot of Ukrainian fighters have been doing well as of late. He's younger, entering his prime, basically the same reach, a little bit of the bigger guy. Shogun Rua has got 1 foot out the door, and Potera is getting his UFC debut. I think this is actually, not his UFC debut. Even better, it's not his UFC debut. He won on the Contender Series, lost his debut, and he's probably going to win this, being 2-1 when you include Contender Series. A lot of fighters have done that, so I feel really good about taking Potera. Not good about getting against Shogun Rua, who naturally is a pioneer of the sport, but ultimately we're on a show to make money and not necessarily to make good feelings. So I'm going to be taking Potera here.
His last fight was fucking trash. That was so garbage. Oh my God.
I think that was probably supposed to be the retirement fight, and it was so bad that he was like, give me another chance. And, I think something happened there where the UFC's like, all right, well, this has to be your last fight, because we're not sending you out ceremoniously if there's, another example as bad as that OSP fight.
Are you talking guys that know it's their last fight in the UFC, or guys that know it's their last fight, period, career-wise, retirement over?
Well, I'm talking retirement over.
Okay.
I think UFC, when they're fighting maybe for a contract extension, that adds some more variables into the equation here. Yeah. But when you're talking about guys who know it's going to be their last fight, Frankie Edgar, they just don't perform well. And I think that's because when you have 1 foot out the door in retirement, and you'd be like, oh, this is the last time I'm going around, I just don't, I don't think they have the dedication. And I'm not saying that negatively, but I think it's like a mental barrier that you're not going to be able to put in the amount of effort and the camp needed when you have retirement on the brain, and after this I'm done. I just think there's something to it, and most of these guys obviously are end of their career, have taken a ton of damage up until that point. It's not like you're seeing a guy who's 32 years old being like, hey, I made some money, I'm hanging it up after this, still in the prime. So I think all of that matters, and unfortunately I think Shogun Rua is going to go out unceremoniously.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, let's dive into that main card now. We're getting up there in time at this point.